Welcome back, Arbiter Monetary Flow. Today, we turn our focus to Phnom Penh, a city shaken to its core. A single document, an FBI indictment, has rattled the pillars of Cambodia's power structure. Let's explore today's report by Arbiter News. Across the capital, thousands have gathered outside Prince Bank branches. Lines stretch for blocks as customers desperately wait to withdraw cash. Banking apps crash. Customer hotlines collapse under pressure. And amid the chaos, the United States has frozen $15 billion belonging to the Prince Holding Group. That staggering figure, $15 billion, represents nearly 1/3 of Cambodia's GDP. It's the oxygen of the nation's economy, and it's suddenly been cut off. But this isn't merely a sanction on one businessman of Chinese descent. It's a calculated strike at the financial backbone of Cambodia's ruling elite. A network that has sustained political dominance for decades, built upon two unshakable pillars, the military and money. The chain reaction began quietly, then erupted overnight. On October 14th, the U.S. Department of Justice and the UK Serious Fraud Office jointly unsealed an indictment against Chen Ji, chairman of Prince Holding Group. The allegations: cross-border money laundering, corruption, and financial crimes. For years, Chen Ji was a symbol of prosperity, hailed as an honorary citizen, praised by former Prime Minister Hun Sen, and showcased as the face of Cambodia's rapid modernization. But behind that glossy image was a tangled web of illicit networks. Western investigators linked Prince-affiliated firms to scam cities in Sihanoukville. Industrial zones turned into digital fraud hubs, where thousands of migrant workers were reportedly detained and coerced into online schemes. When Washington and London imposed their coordinated sanctions, the impact was swift and devastating. Within 72 hours, Prince Bank's online systems began to fail. Depositors lined up overnight to pull their savings. Local currency exchange shops ran out of dollars. The Cambodian riel plunged to a 5-year low. Economists call it a liquidity shock, a sudden collapse of confidence. The National Bank of Cambodia issued statements assuring that the system remains stable. But on the streets, trust was evaporating faster than any policy could restore it. Video footage showed chaotic queues, frustrated citizens, and security guards struggling to keep order. Trust, once lost, is the hardest currency to regain. Analysts now warn that if withdrawals continue at this pace for another 2 weeks, Prince Bank could face total insolvency. But this financial collapse runs deeper than one institution. It strikes at the heart of Cambodia's power network, the web of political and business interests tied to the Hun family. For nearly 4 decades, Hun Sen's rule rested on two foundations: control over the army and control over money. Now, with one foundation cracking, the other begins to tremble. Prime Minister Hun Manet, Hun Sen's son and successor, faces a dilemma that could define his premiership: reassure the public at home while maintaining vital ties with Beijing. Government ministries scramble to calm fears, but even insiders admit that salaries are delayed and foreign investors are quietly pulling funds from Phnom Penh. Meanwhile, the western border with Thailand remains tense. Trade disruptions have left essential goods in short supply. For an import-reliant economy like Cambodia, this twin crisis, financial and geopolitical, is a devastating combination. And whenever Cambodia finds itself cornered, attention inevitably turns to China. Beijing's involvement in Cambodia is not charity, it's strategy. For 2 decades, China has invested billions into Cambodia's infrastructure, building roads, bridges, and luxury complexes. But these projects were rarely for Cambodia's benefit alone. Most were Chinese-financed, Chinese-built, and Chinese-operated. Now, with Chen Ji's empire collapsing, Beijing's carefully woven influence network risks unraveling. Reports suggest that Chinese state-owned banks may already be acting behind the scenes, quietly injecting liquidity through intermediaries in Hong Kong, Macau, and Singapore. At the same time, Chinese corporations are rumored to be purchasing assets once owned by Prince Holding, rebranding them under restructuring initiatives. On paper, it's a bailout. In practice, it looks like strategic takeover. By saving Prince, Beijing doesn't just protect one tycoon. It safeguards its entire financial and political foothold in Cambodia. The more Phnom Penh leans on Chinese loans and yuan settlements, the deeper it sinks into Beijing's economic orbit. Inside Cambodia's ministries, opinions are split. Some view Chinese intervention as a lifeline, the only way to avert collapse. Others fear it will erode national sovereignty, turning Cambodia into little more than a satellite of Chinese power. Meanwhile, ordinary Cambodians worry about their daily survival. For them, this crisis isn't about geopolitics. It's about whether they can pay rent, keep their savings safe, and buy food next week. Across Southeast Asia, neighboring governments are watching nervously. Thailand fears economic spillover. Vietnam is recalibrating its diplomatic balance. Even ASEAN officials privately admit Cambodia's turmoil could expose broader weaknesses in the region's dependence on Chinese capital. This is no longer just a Cambodian story. It's a regional stress test, a snapshot of how financial power shapes political destiny. Cambodia's crisis has sent ripples across Southeast Asia, exposing how deeply the region depends on foreign capital. For years, nations from Bangkok to Hanoi have balanced between Beijing's loans and Western investments. But in Phnom Penh, that balance collapsed, and the result is a financial shock that has become a political reckoning. Analysts say the turmoil shows how China's Belt and Road projects can turn from partnership into dependence. When Washington froze key Cambodian assets, it didn't just hit an economy. It disrupted a network of influence linking Phnom Penh to Beijing. Now China faces a dilemma: intervene to stabilize its closest ally, or risk watching its regional credibility erode. Beijing is moving carefully, deploying quiet financial support while avoiding open rescue. But every move deepens Cambodia's reliance on Chinese power, raising fears of economic annexation under the guise of aid. Meanwhile, neighboring countries are recalculating. Vietnam strengthens ties with the US and Japan, while Thailand braces for capital flight. For ASEAN, the lesson is clear. Growth built on borrowed money and political favoritism cannot last. Cambodia has become a case study in modern geopolitics, where loans become leverage and sovereignty erodes without a single soldier crossing a border. When the dust settles, Cambodia may still stand, but it will likely be a different Cambodia, one whose future is bound ever tighter to China's influence. So is Beijing truly rescuing Phnom Penh, or quietly taking it over, one step at a time? Let us know what you think in the comments below.